Hi friends, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I will be reviewing The Will of the Many by James Islington. So I just finished this book and I have to talk about it. The first few minutes, I'll just tell you like the basis of this book, and then I'll let you know when spoilers come in because I have to talk to you guys about it because I was confused. So let's just dive in. This is a Roman-inspired fantasy that is based off of a hierarchy system or pyramid system. And this is called the Hierarchy series. So you have the basis of the pyramid, which is octavi. I'm going to pronounce all of these wrong. But that's the base of the pyramid. And then each step, these people basically give you their will. And so octavi at the base, they don't have anybody willing to them. They are at the bottom. But they give will to the next step, and then the next step up gives to the next step. And so you go all the way up to Principe, which is the top of the pyramid. And there are 3 pyramids. There is the military, governance, and religion pyramids. And so like that's how these people get their power, is through will of people. Now our main character, and I think this is really interesting to have a first person perspective in a fantasy setting like this, because it's limited and you're only seeing out of one person's eyes. So you're not getting the whole world aspect. But for something this complex, it's very interesting. And I like it. I like it a lot. I really like our main character. So our main character, his name is Viz. And he has been running and trying to hide from the hierarchy because he does not want to secede his will. So we first meet him in a prison. He is working as like a guard or something, but as an orphan. And so this senator comes to the prison and kind of is intrigued by Viz. So he follows him unbeknownst to Viz at the time, but follows Viz to this fighting theater that he does at the end of his day. And then he goes back to the orphanage where he lives. So the next day, the senator, Ulsicor, at least that's how I've been pronouncing his name, comes and talks to him and basically like strikes a deal with Viz and adopts him. And so this deal is basically he needs help with researching what's going on at the academy, which is the hierarchy's like top school. And Viz is good enough to get in. And it's because of Viz's educational background. Now, we learn fairly early that Viz is the lost prince of Sus. So the hierarchy invaded Sus, which is an island in this world, 3 or 4 years ago. And the entire royal family died except for Viz. And Viz's real name is Diago. You go through basically him like, training and getting ready for the academy, and then you go to the academy. And there's these crazy things at the academy. They're now out of the grounds of the academy that Viz has to sneak to get to. And so there's two different instances that he does. One is on one side of the academy and the other is on the other side of the academy. So it's very interesting. I really enjoyed this. Now, it took me a long time, and to be quite honest, I still don't quite understand the magic system. Like, I get it at a base level, but the magic system is very, very complex. And I don't even think we've dove into it yet, and I think it's just because Viz doesn't use will. So I'll be intrigued in the next book on what happens based on the ending. I gave this 5 stars. It is absolutely fantastic. It took me a while to read just because I had all kinds of stuff going on, but I love this book and I want to jump into the second one like ASAP, but I also need to like kind of debrief and chill my brain out a little bit. So I'm going to pick up something light for my next book, especially since I'm also reading another like epic fantasy on my Kindle. And then I'll probably get straight into the second book. I know the third book doesn't have a release date yet. I'm hoping it's sometime in 2027, so it's not too far away for me to pick up the trilogy, but this is fantastic. If you have not read The Will of the Many yet, read it. You will not be disappointed. But then that gets me into spoilers now for the ending because I was confused. I was good up until the last 2 last 2 chapters in this book that are underneath the section synchronism. Apparently, there is a machine. So Viz visits this dome, basically is what it's called, in the middle of the book, and finds out that there is a labyrinth there that you have to run. The problem is if you run that labyrinth and you don't get through, you die horrifically. Viz just went initially to get information for his adopted father. But then when he tells his adopted father, basically Ulsicor is like, well, you have to run the labyrinth. He, at this point, Viz, is in class 4. And the academy you start in 7th, and you have to rise through the ranks, basically. And you go all the way up to class 3. If you're in class 3, you get to run this trial, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong. The Eudictium is what it's called. And basically, if you win that, you become top of the class. You get to pick any position you want. Any at all. Viz doesn't really care technically about winning. He just wants to get into it so he can then get to the dome and run the labyrinth. So he figured out a way to get into class 3, and then basically, like, ever since he came back from this one festival, well, not festival, they went to Sus, which that was interesting. He's been running the labyrinth at the school with his friends, training, because he knows he has to run the labyrinth in the dome, and there is a high potential that if he doesn't train as hard as he can, he will die. And there's still that potential that he will die because he won't get through. But he ends up getting into class 3, running the Eudictium, and then striking a plan with his teammates to make it seem like everything's kosher, and they split up, and he goes and he gets to the dome and he runs the labyrinth and he makes it through. But then there's this place after the labyrinth, and it's like a circle of bronze shears or knives or like something, and it doesn't explain it. Like, I had to watch a YouTube video for the explanation and Google, but apparently it's a machine. And this machine splits you, because apparently there's 3 worlds. There is Res, which is the main world that the will of the many takes place in. So basically the entire book is in Res. Then there is Lucium, or Lucium, however you pronounce it, and Obitium. And apparently there are symbols at the top of these chapters in the last part of the book that dictate which world he's in. So there's one, so the first one you read is Lucium. The second one you read is Obitium, and that is where Kaor is, who is Ulsiker's brother, who Ulsiker thinks died and got murdered, basically. And that also is why Viz was at the academy, was to figure out who killed Kaor for Ulsiker. But like, I didn't quite understand. So I figured that out by Googling. So now it makes sense. It is going to be very interesting to read in the second book, because the second book takes place in all 3 different worlds, and it is all from Viz's first person perspective. So the only way you know which world you're in is by the little icons on the top of the chapter. So you have to pay attention to that. But in Lucium, there is a toll to become part of that world, and so Viz loses his arm. That, though, apparently had an effect in Res and gave Viz, like, his arm got infected, like, pretty badly, to the point where they had to amputate his arm in Res as well. So the only world he has 2 arms is in Obitium. Now, I don't know anything about these worlds, other than there's 3, and Riz successfully copied himself and is in all 3 worlds. I'm sure I will learn more when I read book 2, but I've been reading a lot of long books recently, and so I wanted to read a shorter one. So that is what I'm going to be doing. But then I'll probably either read one more short one and then get back to this one, or just go straight back to this world, because I need to figure out what in the world is going on in this book. like in this series. Like, I need to know. James Islington is a freaking genius because of this series. I'm gonna have to read his other series at some point too. I think he's got, let's see. Well, this book does not say his other works, but he does have other works. Oh, here it is. It is the Lucanus trilogy. I don't know what it's about. I definitely plan to look that up and add that to my want to reads list on Goodreads, because he is a fantastic writer, fantastic storyteller, and this world is just insane. And the hard magic system of this will, on how it's so complex that you just kind of have to try to figure it out. But he doesn't go like majorly into the magic system in this book, and I think it's because Viz doesn't like use it. If you've read this book, I would absolutely love to know what your thoughts were. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and be good people.
When you feel it's hard.